So we are talking about abundance this month, and today specifically, abundance from the inside out. And as I gave you earlier on, if you arrive a little late, everything's always on time and in time here at Agape Bay Area. I'll give you the teasers that I started with. We're going to talk about shifting from God is my source to I am God's source. It's powerful. God is my source. I am God's source. We're also going to be talking about how we shift our awareness from thinking that we are participating in what we might have called the law of attraction to the law of radiance. And what I mean by all of this is we're shifting into a new consciousness right here and right now where we no longer need anything from the world. The world's given us enough. Right? And we heard it today in the music, we heard it in the reading, and we heard it as a powerful question in Dr. Maritz's paragraph, what if? I love that question. Because you can pretty much fill in the blank from there. What if? What if every situation that ever happened, whether we called that happening to us, for us, near us, by us, what if everything that ever happened brought us to this magnificent moment for the sole purpose of being the light of the world? Yes. So we have had some master teachers on this planet, some that we probably will never know in a public way. You know, the aunt that bakes those cookies that says, here, beautiful one, that sees the love of their niece, their nephew, their grandchild. We have grandmothers in this room that have been the love of God. Grandfathers that have been the love of God. And we've had other teachers that get written about. 2,500 years ago, a person came to this planet that we call the Buddha that offered something really powerful, and he said something really simple. You hold the keys to end your own suffering. You hold the key. Key. Sometimes it's a lot of different keys. Sometimes we've got to try all those different keys, right? Oh, that's not exactly the right one. How many of us lost our keys? I can't believe we don't live in a keyless society yet. I'm sure it's coming very soon. But that holds true today. And then 500 years later, another master teacher named Jesus came to the earth, or there's a story that these people came. And the story that Jesus came to teach was to let go of all the old ways of doing things and hold the one truth, and that is you are the light of the world. See, he said, I am the light of the world, and people misunderstood that. They thought, okay, he's the light of the world and I'm not. Right? And then for 2,000 years, a lot of people taught that. There's only one way, and it's through this teacher. But we are in a new era where it's not about the teacher. And so I stand up here today that some of you might call me a teacher, and I feel so blessed that we're in this new paradigm because I'm not here to teach. We are here, each of us, to radiate the love of God, the love of source, the love of love. To be that, as I said earlier, that lighthouses don't go looking for boats to save, they just stand there shining. That is true for abundance. Because as I know that I am abundance, and that this isn't about attracting abundance to me, there's all these levels, right? There's these layers. And if you've read Michael Beckwith's book, or if you've read my book, it's fascinating, and I want to share how consciousness works. The very first time I ever gave a talk at a spiritual center, 1929, I don't know what year it was. The talk was called Beyond Metaphysics, and what I was pointing to is that there's this new level of consciousness where we're moving beyond a lot of the metaphysical teachings. We're moving beyond the law of cause and effect. And I wrote about these 4 layers, or these 4 levels of conscious awareness, and someone came up to me at the end and said, have you ever read Michael Beckwith's book? He has something really similar. Well, when I read it, it's not similar, it's almost exact. And that's because we pick up in consciousness. I hadn't, at that point, ever even heard him speak. Confession, sorry. But also hadn't read his book. But I picked up this idea of these 4 levels, and I want to just briefly touch on what abundance would look like and feel like from these 4 levels of conscious awareness. We have slightly different names for them. I call level 1 martyr. He calls it victim. Same thing, right? Victim, martyr. At that level, the world is happening to me, and my abundance would be by chance.
Yeah.
Some people get lucky. I didn't get that luck, right? We have those beliefs that the world is happening to us, and we either need to be at the right place at the right time to have abundance. And usually, when we talk about abundance, especially in America, we think of it as money. But it's not just that.
That's right.
Right? It's love, it's connection, it's
Health.
all the different parts of life. It's health, it's mental health and mental well-being, it's emotional intelligence.
Yes.
I have an abundance of emotional intelligence. In other words, I can allow you to feel what you feel, and I can allow myself to feel what I feel.
That's not right.
So at that level of conscious awareness, abundance would be something happening to us, and we would be bounced around by life. And then we move into what I call magical thinking, which is where the law of attraction lives. And that means, oh my gosh, I am not at all powerless. Things don't happen to me. I can make things happen. How many of us have lived in that stage? It's so fun, isn't it? We make the vision boards. I remember the first time I started playing with this. I want to actually share something. When I was in a class at Unity early on my path, we did vision boards. And I got silent for a moment, and I recognized at that time that I wanted my vision board to be blank. Because I didn't want to imprint what I thought I needed and wanted, because I knew that that was coming from my old programming. It's not possible any other way if my mind creates. So the primary focus of stage 2 is mind. It's mental. But here's what happened. I knew, I felt it. I'm going to do a blank vision board. And I looked around the room, and I got afraid. So I put the hot guy in the mansion and the car, all the things I thought I was supposed to put on there. And here's the thing that's amazing. I want to share in a very, very honest way what happened next. I did manifest all of that. I really did. Well, the mansion. Okay, it was a nice house. In San Francisco, if you have a house with a garage and a view, it's a mansion, right? So all of that happened, and I'm like, this is so much fun. I love metaphysics. Because I'm getting what I want. Right? It's a very me-centered stage, and it's really fun. Or it was for me, until there was a deeper pull. Until I got everything that I thought was going to bring me happiness, and I realized that nothing changed. It didn't bring me happiness, it didn't take away happiness, it just didn't do much at all. Oh, so I have a house now. I loved my house. I loved my partner at the time, I loved my Lexus. It was all great. But there was still that deeper yearning for something more. I knew that abundance wasn't about stuff, and I had the stuff, and it wasn't bringing me abundance. Because abundance of spirit is really knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that love and God and source is the truth of who and what I am. And I had enough education, if you will, to know that there must be something deeper than this. You know, when we talk about the American dream, we actually are talking about that level 2, that stage 2. I'm going to make it happen. And we have a president right now that demonstrates that so beautifully. I'm going to force my way through the world, and I'm going to become a billionaire, and look at me, how great I am. And our consciousness on some level has allowed that to come into power, and I'll tell you why I believe it has. Because we're waking up in a very, very powerful way. And if I think I'm separate from that consciousness, I'm missing the opportunity. I've been that guy, not to that extreme. Thank you for laughing. But I will tell you that I have been the one that thought it was about gaining stuff and notoriety and look at me and I'm so great. I've been the person that has craved that and spent almost my entire 30s building that because I thought that was it. And I think I gave this quote last week, but it's such a great one, I'm going to give it again. Allison's been with me for like a decade listening to me speak, and she's probably heard a lot of the same quotes. But Jim Carrey says, I wish everyone to be rich and famous so they know that's not it.
Yes.
And then I remember saying, easy for you to say. Right? And that's the truth. So there's a yearning, there's a pull, there's this deeper wish for our lives. And then abundance becomes not what can I get, but what can I give? And that's that stage 3 that I call metaphysical. It's happening through me. So happening to me, I make it happen, happening through me. That means that I now start to be loving. I start to identify a God or a higher power or a higher entity or being or self as happening through me. So a lot of times we hear that, Spirit channeled through me. Right? And that is so rewarding because I recognize that at that stage, it's not all about me anymore. That actually because and by the way, what happened for me when I got this yearning to go into the deeper stages, all of that fell apart. I lost the house, I lost the car, my partner left me. It was a dark time for me. And it was right after I said yes to the calling to go into ministry. So if you're having that calling, come see me. And I'm going to be, and the reason that I want to say it, I want to talk about this is because it does seem like, for whatever reason, that when we say yes to a new level of consciousness, that which we created or allowed at the second level or the first level of consciousness can't stay there. That's why Dr. Marissa has a husband. Did you hear it? Because he fit perfectly into, if it's okay if I say this, because you already shared it, at that first level victim consciousness, right? That's my guy right there. He's going to keep confirming that I'm not worthy. Right? And then she had an awakening, and she's like, wait a minute. That's not true.
That's not it.
That's not it. And then he had to go. Right? And we don't have to have that be with any kind of hate or judgment.
Right.
It's just we have shifted, and it's time for us to part ways in love. In love. And so in this level of consciousness where we begin to become a beneficial presence on the planet and begin to offer love where we thought we wanted to get love. We wanted everything, as I think 2 weeks ago we used Eckhart Tolle's reading, which was everything that you believe the world is withholding from you, you are withholding from the world. Right? That's stage 3. It's so powerful. I'm going to now serve, be a service. You might use the word vessel at this level. I'm a vessel for love. And then we reach this place where even that, there's a deeper calling. And the deeper calling is what Gandhi spoke to when he said, be the change you want to see in the world, not do the change. Right? So we move into a level of consciousness where we recognize, I call it the mystical level, I believe Reverend Michael calls it the mystical level, that we are here to be the love of the world. We are here to be abundance. We are here to absolutely know beyond a shadow of a doubt that love is who we are. Now, what does it take for most of us to get there? A lot of shedding. Right? So if life isn't adding up, start subtracting. Start subtracting. What do I need to release and let go of in order for me to know my own magnificence? Because when we arrive at stage 4, and many of us have glimpses, right? Glimpses, there's only oneness. Oh my gosh, this whole story I've been holding about my mother is no longer relevant. Because I know my own magnificence now. And I don't mean from an egoic place. I mean that we know that love is who and what we are. And when we arrive there, we don't have to even change the story anymore. We just simply recognize it's not the truth of who and what we are. And so we become a more profound beneficial presence on the planet because we don't believe there's anyone or anything to save. We can be a radiant being of light, and we can create communities like Agape Bay Area where we're dedicated to knowing that and to being that. And if you know the story or the history of Agape Bay Area, we visioned for a long time. We were called Awakened Living. It was an independent New Thought Center I started in 2012. We visioned. We got East Bay. I'm like, I don't live in the East Bay. We got all of these messages about agape and connecting with agape. And then Reverend Michael reached out to us and asked if we could be the first satellite. Now, the reason I share that is because at the mystical level of consciousness, there's not anything to do but to dedicate time in that space of absolute presence and listening. And from there, there's oneness. Right? I started having dreams with Reverend Michael. One time he pulled up in a really nice sports car, actually, in this dream. He's like, "Get in! I'm about to take you on a ride." And I was like, "Okay." And that has been true, right? So when we spend time, when we dedicate ourselves to spending time in the silence, it's not that miracles happen, it's that we recognize that life is a miracle.
Yes, yes.
Every single moment is filled with the miracle of life.
Amen.
We move beyond the story of separation, beyond the fear, beyond any ideas that we have of our own lack and limitation, and step into the fullness of our beingness. And from there, the greatest paradox is then the world seems to just shift. And I think it's just, we're just tuning in. There's all these different realities happening in this room. And when I shift, and when we shift, it's like, oh, hello, lovelies. Right? Instead of like, I don't like the way she looked at me. Maybe she didn't look at me like that at all.
She wasn't even looking at you.
It's actually wasn't even looking at me. I know, I remember thinking, I wonder, I remember going through this, during that really dark period when things were really getting burnt off. And what I mean by burnt off, there's a term called chemicalization in New Thought and in metaphysics. And what that means is when our consciousness raises to a new vibration and a new level, that which isn't like it needs to get burned off, transmuted. We let it go, right? And so I was in that dark night of the soul period during that time. It was about a decade or so ago. And I remember thinking, oh God, I wonder what are people saying about me? Because I had all this self-criticism and judgment. And I woke up one day and I thought, they're not talking about me. They're thinking about me. Right? They're thinking about themselves. Right? So I recognized at that point that I was projecting what I was believing about myself onto you, but only 100% of the time. Only 100% of the time. So do I want more love in my life? Yes, be the love. Do I want more peace in my life? Yes, be the peace. Do you want more connection in your life? Be the connection. Right? So we could say, if you want more love in your life, love. If you want more peace in your life, live as peace or go create peace. We're offering, as we kind of round out this month of September of abundance, that you already are that which you seek. Each one of us is already that magnificent expression of love and light and source. There is no getting there. There's only remembering. And so it does seem like in some moments we need to look at the story and let him go. In some other moments we simply remember our own magnificence. So in closing, what I want to invite you to do is look at your own worthiness, because that's really what it comes down to for me. Do I believe I'm worthy of love? Do I believe I'm worthy of connection? Do I believe I'm worthy of perfect mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health? Do I believe that I can have as much money as I want, especially when I'm intending to use it as a love energy on the planet? Do you believe that right now? So just repeat after me. I am worthy of love.
I am worthy of love.
I am worthy of help.
I am worthy of help.
I love myself exactly as I am.
I love myself exactly as I am.
Worthy of perfect abundance.
I am worthy of perfect abundance.
I love money and money loves me.
I love money and money loves me.
Because I know that I'm going to use money for good on this planet.
Because I know I'm going to use money for good on this planet.
I am the light of the world.
I am the light of the world.
And so it